This might be something I've only noticed anecdotally, so I could totally be wrong here, but it seems like with the popularity of streaming services such as Netflix, documentary as a genre has become more popular in the cultural zeitgeist. This might sound obvious, but watching a documentary should not be seen as an alternative to watching a film, but rather as watching a specific genre of film. And here are 5 excellent documentaries that you've probably not seen, which you can watch on YouTube right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, by way of introduction, this is a film about trickery and fraud, about lies.
First up, we have F for Fake. This is Orson Welles' final film, and damn is it another masterpiece. It's ostensibly about the famous art forger Elmire, but branches out into multiple free-flowing, interconnected narratives. The multiple storylines are expertly edited together, and the whole film has a tremendous energy and pace to it. It's an 80-minute long film, but it feels much more like half an hour. In addition to this, Welles' presence as both narrator and occasional subject is even larger than his physical presence. Welles is one of those people who I always think of in terms of parody, but when you sit down and actually watch one of his films, you just become transfixed at the magnitude of his presence. This is one of the greatest documentaries of all time, and I really don't want to spoil any of it, so go watch it. I showed it to my flatmate who's not big into films, and after he saw it, he said that was one of the best films he'd ever seen.
Girls to the front. That is the thing that never happened before. Men could be in the room, but men could never dominate the room. It was a flip of the script that blew people's minds.
The next documentary I want to recommend is The Punk Singer. This is a documentary about Kathleen Hanna, the lead singer of the band Bikini Kill, a feminist punk band from Seattle in the 90s who were instrumental in the creation of the Riot Grrrl movement. I was first introduced to the genre playing Gone Home, which if you have not played, my god, go and play it, it's amazing, but which I didn't know much about until I watched the documentary. The film not only does a great job at chronicling Bikini Kill's legacy as a band, but it's a great depiction of the 90s alternative scene as well, and there's some great trivia in there for anyone who's even passingly familiar with the music, as well as some great interviews with people such as Kim Gordon of Sonic Youth. In addition to that, we also get a great look at Kathleen as a person, her life after Bikini Kill and the other band she had started, as well as her battle with Lyme disease. This is an amazing documentary that shows a great collection of 90s punk art, spoken word and music, and also introduced me to one of my favourite punk bands of all time.
During the missions, after the missions, the result of what I was doing, the result of this game, this exercise of my technical expertise never really dawned on me. That reality of the screams or the people being blown away or their homeland being destroyed just was not a part of what I thought about.
The next film I want to talk about is Hearts and Minds, which is a documentary about US involvement in the Vietnam War that came out while the war was still going on and only shortly after American withdrawal. This is an amazing time capsule. It has a lot of incredible footage, made even more incredible by the Blu-ray transfer of the film, that probably would have gotten lost to time if it weren't for this film. It works on a lot of levels. It's an excellent document of the war, but also of its failures and of the attitudes of the people involved on all levels. There's some brilliant interviews with the people who were behind some of America's more brutal actions during the war, some of whom actually tried to have themselves forcefully edited out of the movie after its completion, and it's terrifying to see some of the ways they try and justify their actions to themselves. And in addition to that, there's a lot of brilliant moments of editing. The film doesn't tell you what to think. It lets you pick up on what they're inferring through the juxtaposition of images, and it's done exceptionally well. Overall, this is by no means an easy watch, but if you're interested in the Vietnam War, this is probably the most important film you could see.
But then a technologist emerged who went much further, and his ideas would become central to Putin's grip on power. He was called Vladislav Surkov. Surkov came originally from the theatre world, and those who have studied his career say that what he did was take avant-garde ideas from the theatre and bring them into the heart of politics. Zherkov's aim was not just to manipulate people, but to go deeper and play with and undermine their very perception of the world.
My next recommendation is for the film HyperNormalization, but it's also more broadly for Adam Curtis's films in general. Curtis is quite possibly my favorite documentarian. He's someone who lets the footage speak for itself and trusts the audience with the ability to interpret what he means largely through the visuals alone. And while I could recommend literally any one of his films, including his excellent previous documentary, Bitter Lake, I'm going to talk about HyperNormalization, seeing as it's the most contemporary. The film shows a number of events, from the collapse of New York's economy in the 70s to the rise and fall of Colonel Gaddafi to Donald Trump and Brexit, making assertions about how we got here and the ways politicians simplify and spin political narratives. It's so dense that not all of its thesis is perfect, and at times it does start to border on conspiracy, but nonetheless this is a fascinating documentary that will definitely make you think. I don't know who Curtis's researchers are, but holy hell are they probably the best there is. There's so much amazing footage in this documentary, it's unreal, and Curtis combines it with his as usual excellent soundtracks. At 2 hours 40 minutes it is not a short film, but the time just flies by. This is a must-watch for anyone even remotely interested in politics, as it does an amazing job at contextualizing current events.
I didn't mean to eat this shoe in public. I intended to eat it in a restaurant, but I was pushed a little bit into it, and it makes sense to some extent, because it should be an encouragement for all of you who want to make films and who are just scared to start and who haven't got the guts.
The final documentary I want to recommend is a short called Verna Hertzog Eats His Shoes. And okay, I lied in the title, it's not on YouTube, it's on Dailymotion, which I'm glad to learn still exists. But also yes, this is real, and yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. The film shows celebrated and award-winning filmmaker Verna Hertzog preparing, cooking, and eating his shoes in front of a live audience. Basically, Hertzog lost a bet with now noted documentarian Errol Morris, the director of The Thin Blue Line and The Fog of War, among others, saying that if he finished his first film, Gates of Heaven, he would eat his shoes. And he did. The film is not only automatically brilliant because it's literally Verna Hertzog eating his shoes, but it also manages to be funny and inspiring at the same time. This is a must-watch for any fan of Hertzog, and if you didn't know this existed, then you are very welcome. So there you go, 5 documentaries you can watch right now on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.